Music and Booze with Mo is produced and distributed by EatsDrinksTV, a service of the Center for Culinary Culture, home of the Cocktail Collection, and First Reel Entertainment, and is available wherever fine podcasts can be heard. The Center for Culinary Culture, telling the story of food and drink, one taste at a time. Welcome to Music and Booze with Mo. I'm Mo Herms, and I've worked in the music industry most of my life, so have met some pretty amazing musicians over the years. I also love a good cocktail, and I've encountered some really interesting bartenders as well. It seems that there's a lot of crossover, so when I can, I like to talk to musicians and bartenders about music and booze. Join us at the bar, won't you? Music and Booze with Mo is brought to you by Barkeeper, a head shop for cocktail lovers, located at 614 North Hoover Street in Silver Lake, Los Angeles. Stop by for barware, vintage glassware, a carefully curated collection of spirits, and one of the most impressive selections of bitters anywhere. Follow them on Instagram and Facebook for information regarding spirits tastings. That's barkeepersilverlake.com, and also in the Virgil Village neighborhood of Silver Lake, Los Angeles. On this episode, I'm off to Birmingham, Alabama. I wish in real life, because I'd love to go check out this cocktail scene that is there. We talked with Ryan Abrams, who is a co-owner as well as the beverage director of Paper Doll, a lovely cocktail bar out there with fantastic drinks based on all kinds of things, ranging from music, of course, to cinema. And he himself has grown up in Birmingham, can tell us all about the music scene out there and the evolved cocktail scene, like what it once was and what it now is. So sit back and pour yourself a little scotch if it's chilly where you are, because that's what Ryan would be doing. And let's chat with Ryan.
Absolutely. Mo, thanks so much for having me. This is really cool. We've never really done one of these with the bar before. So
Now you are.
this is new for me, and new for us. But my name's Ryan Abrams. I'm with Paper Doll Bar in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm I wish I could say I was one thing. It goes by day to day. I mean, naturally, I'm one of the owners and beverage director for the bar, but some days I'm the plumber. Some days I'm the orderer. Some days I'm the stocker. Some days I'm the fix-it guy. It all kind of
the glories of ownership, right?
Exactly. The glories of business and operation and figuring it out yourself.
It's a small business. So in small business, you do everything. But I'm impressed that as an owner, you also can do beverage direction as well. So maybe the way to start with this is to roll back to the beginning. Like, when did you first get into bartending and creating cocktails and all that?
Yeah, totally. I was kind of pulling all my resources together when we said we were going to do this. And so I was like, there's this, like, how do I kind of go back and how do I, kind of pull from everything? So I was like, like you said, best just probably start from the beginning.
Yeah.
So I got my start within service industry in college. One of my fraternity brothers, every year during the summers, I would go back home and work landscaping. In the summers, he would go to the beach and work at restaurants. And, he was like, yeah, man, like you should come down, like just come down, like see it, for one weekend, see what you think, look at the restaurant, see what you think. I'll show you where we always stay in a rental property during the summer. Like it's super cheap. We go down there, we make money, we come back. And I was like, all
Yeah.
right, well, I'll go check it out one weekend. So went down there, checked it out. I was like, okay, yeah, I can do this. So kind of cut my teeth in Florida on like I don't know if you're familiar with the 38 area. It's kind of like an area of Florida, kind of between Pensacola and Cape San Blas, kind of like the middle area between Destin and Panama City.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Used to be kind of like a very sleepy town. The summer I was there was kind of like the last time it was a sleepy little town, and it's grown exponentially every year. But I went
Mhm.
down there and worked for a seafood restaurant, like a kind of a fine dining restaurant, and was server assistant. I was expediter in the kitchen. I was dishwasher. I was bar back, and just kind of like cut my teeth there, and also working at a pizza kitchen during the day, kind of doing prep, kind of learning, both front of the house, back of the house things.
Mhm.
And from there, after the summer, learned a lot, went back to school. Was like, what, I'm like not shitty at this. And this is kind of like a good way to make some beer money. So
Yeah.
started serving tables and bartending in college, and then like came time to graduate. Moved back home, back to Birmingham. I went to, I don't know if I mentioned this, I went to Troy University, which is about 3 hours south of Birmingham.
Okay.
And so came back to finish my last three classes. I finished them online and got a job in the service industry here in Birmingham at a wine bar. And
Mhm.
then after I graduated, they were like, hey, like, we know you're going to go on and use your degree, but we'd like to keep you on for events and things like that. And so I kind of like had one foot in, one foot out for several
Mhm.
years within the
Mhm.
service industry from, I'm kind of, the duality of it is now, I've been doing it for like 15 years
Mhm.
with, a foot in or a foot out. Now kind of flash forward, I work for an insurance company as a risk analyst during the day. And then I'm also part owner in a bar and, beverage director and do all that.
So you're still one foot
So,
in, one foot out in a
so I'm
sense.
still one foot in, one foot out. And so I try to explain that to people. It's kind of like, kind of a yin to the yang. They're completely polar opposites, but,
Yeah.
share some similarities when it comes to soft skills and hard skills, but enjoy that both. And, it kind of came time to a couple of years ago before Paper Doll started. I worked for a bar that was in the same location called Tavern on First,
Mhm.
and the owner was getting ready to sell the bar. And I always tell the story that it's kind of like I'm the stray dog that came with the old house that somebody
Yeah.
bought. Like the farmer had been feeding me for 12 years, and I'm just the old porch dog.
So you just
So
belong to the space now, right?
exactly. So when they bought the bar, they kind of, in sense inherited the staff, and they kept it as Tavern on First for a few months. And they were like,
Mhm.
hey, we're kind of thinking about going a different direction. It was very like kind of in the same vein of a cocktail bar, but it was very much kind of very simple.
Mhm.
And they came in and redid the space, redid the name, redid the vibe, expanded a lot of our availability with
Mhm.
beer, wine, liquor, and cocktail offers. So did a lot of that, and so we started in December of 18.
Mhm.
We did soft opening in November of 18. So we had like one good year.
Yeah. I
And
think I mentioned to you I'm a partner in a bar as well, and we opened
yeah,
in August of 18.
oh,
So
okay. Well,
so
you
we
got the
all
jump
rode
on us a
that
little
COVID
bit.
wave.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so we had, so yeah, we had, a year, and come
A year and a
March of
couple months, and then
2020, it's like, hey, have you heard about this COVID thing? This is
it,
wild. Like all these people are getting
right?
sick. Yeah, that's weird. And then,
Such a crazy
the
time.
yeah, such a crazy time. And the Monday after St. Patrick's Day, you
Hmm.
wake up and your phone is just exploding with notifications, emails, calls, all this
Yeah.
stuff, turn on the news and all this. And like the state's shut down, the country's shut down, bars and restaurants are closed. And it was that kind of scary time. But, we made through. We made it through with,
Congratulations. That's not
thank you very
easy.
much. And to you, we
Yeah,
did.
thanks.
It was one of those we had to rely on, our customer base. It's so great. And being able to function a little bit outside of the box with what we were normally doing. We were doing, kind of selling everything that wasn't, nailed to the floor, so to
Yeah.
speak, to a certain extent. So when it comes to stock, we were able to, the governor amended our liquor license and for the statewide, so that
Mhm.
way you could sell, um,
Ready to
you could go to the
go.
liquor store, you could do cocktails, you could sell
Hmm.
whole bottles, whether it be
Hmm.
pure wine, liquor. We would do cocktail kits
Yeah.
where you would buy the
We did
bottle,
the
we prep the
same.
ingredients, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's
Hmm.
that's what kept us alive. And
Hmm.
after a while, we were able to open back up, limited to the public.
Yeah.
I think it was like we were doing it a little different. Where if you were, classed as a bar, you could open as early as 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but you
Mm.
had to be hard closed by 11 because
Mm.
infectious diseases don't happen
Yeah.
after 11.
I know.
That's just science.
I know. There were some fun rules during that
Yeah,
time.
that was a fun time. I think one of the most interesting things about it was the the day after Christmas of 2020. My then girlfriend, my now wife, we
Oh.
went down to New Orleans the day after.
Mhm.
It was like, like, let's go. There's nothing really to do. There's nowhere to go. Let's just try it out. So,
Mhm.
one of the best experiences I've ever had in New Orleans because it was very quiet. You had to like last
Mm.
call was 10:45, like
Mhm.
martial law
Yeah, yeah.
10:45 last call. Like it was like there is nowhere to drink. Go home,
Which
kind
is
of thing.
wild for New
So
Orleans, you know.
exactly, it was so strange, like just so strange to be like, we were staying kind of off Dauphine, kind of right down the street, and you
Mhm.
don't hear a sound at 11:15.
Mhm.
Like it was very, it was. I say this, say this. It was one of the best, most peaceful New Orleans
Ah,
experiences.
it was
It will
probably
never
kind of
be like that
magical,
again.
actually. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean it was. You just walk into any bar you want, walk into any restaurant, no waiting,
Mhm.
no reservations, just
Yeah.
and it was yeah, because there were no bowl games, no
Yeah.
festivals going on, so it was wild. It was wild to hear
Jeez.
quiet streets after 11 o'clock at night, even in the
Wow.
city.
That is crazy. So for you, said you're a part owner. When did that opportunity come up for you during the course of all this? You said you were the holdover, one of the holdovers
Yeah,
from the
yeah,
previous
I
space.
was one of the holdovers from previous, and so it kind of ownership kind of took different forms in different ways at different times. So kind of started when the whole idea of Paper Doll from Tavernal First was proposed. It was kind of first as an equity partnership. They had their,
Oh, nice.
set partners, and so it's kind of like, hey, we're going to be leaning on you a lot for. I mean, I was part of menu development,
Mhm.
um, ingredient procurement, cocktail design, everything, and all that under the sun, and then that kind of equity kind of faded away into a certain point. Then I was just an employee. Then we kind of went through COVID and all that. And then it kind of came through where one of the partners was actually had a job offer out of state.
Oh, wow.
And the other partners, he said, hey, I can't be here. I can't really be a part of it. I can't be in two places at once.
Mhm.
So then it became an offer from the other partners to say, kind of down the line, they're like, hey, would you be interested?
Oh,
And of
cool.
course, it was one of those like, hey, like I'd be interested. Let's do this the right way. Let's look at the books. Let's look at
Yeah.
market share, all that. All
Yeah.
that was cleared away and taken care of. So we did that, and it's been kind of one of those where it's kind of we're figuring it out as we go. Just like
Yeah.
any business, there's good months, there's bad months. We're pretty like static as far as what goes on. We are in the South, so during September, October, November, we are at the mercy of college football on Saturdays. But we do fairly well. We're pretty dialed in as far as our customer base and everything that we do. So we're
Mhm.
very fortunate for that. And
Well, tell me about
so
Paper
yeah.
Doll, because I mean, when I was looking into it, I'm like, this is a snazzy little bar. I mean,
Yeah,
like
yeah, it's a
wonderful
snazzy
looking,
little spot.
great
Thank you very
cocktails.
much.
I mean, from what I can tell, I haven't tried them yet. I'm going to trust you on that. But I mean,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I was
Yeah, we'll put
intrigued by the
something in the mail
creativity
for you.
behind that. Yeah, sure. Oh, it's those
Yeah,
cocktail kits. There you go.
yeah, we'll put a cocktail kit in the mail for you.
I'll have to
Yeah,
get one from
totally.
my bar to send to you. Well, it'll be like a state boomerang.
Yeah, we'll be pen pals or yeah,
Cocktail.
absolutely
Yeah,
with
I know. I always
cocktails.
do it. Something pals, spirit pals. So yeah, tell me about
Absolutely.
Because I mean, from what I had read about Tavern on First, that they did cocktails as well, but it seems like you guys came along and went, here are some cocktails. That's
Yeah, no,
what I
absolutely. And
interpreted.
that, I think that's a good way to put it. Kind of the original owner, a guy named Matt Campbell,
Mhm.
who started Tavern on First. He had always kind of wanted to own a cocktail bar. Great guy, cocktail nerd as well.
Mhm.
And he was like, "Hey, I kind of have this idea," and it had come to be where he had worked in banking for years, and he had come to a point where uh, his position was kind of eliminated, so he got a golden
Mhm.
parachute from the bank,
No.
and he was like, "This is the best time to do it." So he and his wife were like, "All right, let's do it." So they opened Tavern on First,
Mhm.
and this was 2015, 2016, maybe.
Mhm.
It's along that timeline, and
Yeah.
kind of had the same thing. Kind of 2 good years, and the bar was doing great. And then Matt and his wife find out they're having twin girls.
Oh gosh. Okay.
So it's kind of like, okay, it's like, well, I own a bar and now I have twin girls on the
Yeah.
way. And at the same time, he had also been consulting with some other banks on some audit things like that. And it kind of landed at the time where he had also been offered a job to where he was going back to work in the
Mm,
banking arena. And
okay.
so
So having a
Tavern
bar
was
wasn't
going
quite
very
as practical as it had
right.
been.
Exactly. Not as practical with, two twin girls at home and
Yeah.
doing 8 to 5 banking life as well.
Right.
So he kind of came to us and was like, guys, I just want you to know at first, like I'm having twin girls. This isn't there's no way I can sustain both lifestyles. I'm going to sell the bar. And of course we're kind of
Mhm.
bummed out, but he lined up the primary owners that were Jason Koenig, who's our primary owner of Paper Doll, and then
Mhm.
his then husband, Joel Cheatwood,
Mhm.
and got to meet them. Everything was great. They're like, hey, don't worry about everything. We're going to kind of keep on what we're doing. We're going to continue. And then a couple months down the road, they're like, hey, I think we can do a little bit better, kind of thing. They're like, I think we're doing fine, but we want to plug some capital into the building. We want to kind
Mhm.
of renovate. We want to make it a little bit more of a focus feature for the city,
Mhm.
and did it a lot through kind of all of our kind of combined travels through parts of the country, cocktail bars we liked, different elements of design. They hired a local designer here named Andrew Brown that
Mhm.
did all of our build outs. And so, yeah, it went from kind of this, wooden bar top,
Mhm.
kind of, I think everybody kind of refers to them as like Waffle House booths. Like it
Yeah.
was very kind of like man cavey cocktail bar, kind of sorta. And then it kind of shifted to a little bit more, not necessarily like masculine to feminine, but a little bit more
Kind of different level of
stylistic,
sophistication
right? A little bit
sort of
more
thing.
sophisticated, a little
Yeah.
bit more stylistic, a little bit
Mhm.
more. It definitely has very much of a European and a
Nice.
strong, French design behind it. So yeah.
Cool. That's amazing. So then when approaching the cocktails, is this still a team sport or you said you're the beverage director? So when did you fall into that role? Was that pretty much from the moment Paper Doll started or did you work your way up to that?
Kind of, yeah. It kind of became like kind of over time, like we tried to walk before we ran, and
Yeah.
we did that. I mean, we started with like a 10 cocktail, like a 10 house cocktail menu,
Hmm.
and but I had kind of already talked to Jason and Joel, but hey, like when we first met, when they were buying the bar, I was like, hey, we can do way better. It's like there's a lot more we can do,
Hmm.
and they're like, okay, yeah, let's talk about it. So uh, our first 2 weeks, we had 8 cocktails because we had like sent off a 54 cocktail menu that we had,
Right.
had printed and come back in. So, and it was kind of one of those ideas. Like now we're down to even now we kind of I think we have 22. Yeah, 22 on the menu for our house menu, not
Mhm.
including classics and the one and ones or the occasional sex on the beach or
Hmm. Hmm.
Madras or something like that we get. But yeah, we kind of started with we're going to start with 8, and then we had this expanded cocktail menu. And I think it was one of those things we learned. early on, because it was like a combination of classics and it was a combination of some house favorites and some
Mhm.
riffs that we had done. And it was kind of realized like, okay, it's kind of the Cheesecake Factory menu. Uh, kind of paralysis that you get. Like there's like so much to choose from. I don't know what to choose.
Mhm.
So over time, we've kind of scaled down
Mhm. Mhm.
from that kind of middle ground of like 22 we have, and we kind of rotate out through seasons. We actually just kind of launched our fall and winter menu
Oh, cool.
2 weeks ago. Yeah, 2 weeks ago, just because
I
it's
mean, it's fall now, so
yeah, exactly, and
technically.
then
'Cause you're a brand new kind of actress. You're a brand new kind of actress. You're the same old stubborn waitress, baby. You're a brand new kind of actress.
So this is in tandem too. There's the naming conventions for cocktails. People love it or they hate it. But I always have to ask, as part of the music part of the podcast, in a sense, if you guys have ever had the opportunity or indulged yourselves naming any drinks after a musician or maybe a line from a song or a song title, if you yourself have had to do that or have had the chance to do that, if that's ever happened on your menu that you can think of.
yeah, totally. I mean, I feel like everybody in the cocktail world or space, whether bartender, server, beverage director, owner, like I feel like everybody's had a strawberry fields on their menu at some point. Like
And
I
you
feel
guys
like
are
you
no
just have to.
exception.
Yeah, so we almost did, and we were like, we can't. That's I
It's
know
so
hundreds of
tasty.
other places have gotten away with it, but it's like that might be the one that like kind of comes into copyright infringement. So and it's like one of those like here recently, was it last year when the newest Taylor Swift album? It was like she
Mhm.
had that song Lavender Haze, and we
Yeah.
actually had we actually had a lavender honey syrup and we had a cocktail that we were playing around with, and it was like the kind of low hanging fruit. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, can't can't
Hey, if
hurry.
it
Like we
works.
could. And then of course, like the next day, like I'm like scrolling through Instagram, and it's like six other bars, like with between
Yeah.
Birmingham, Nashville, and Atlanta, all had like a lavender haze on the menu. It's like, well, we're just gonna skip right over
Maybe not do
that.
that.
We're just gonna maybe do skip right over that. But we actually have had a good bit of pop culture and music and
Mhm.
cinema kind of included on the menus of different cocktails.
Mhm.
One of our most famous, or I'd say famous, but one of our leading house favorites is this smoked old fashioned riff that we do called "Thank You for Smoking." After the
Oh yeah.
movie
Oh my
about
God,
the
that movie is so great.
all right, so we have that. We at one point we had a Tropic Thunder cocktail on our
Oh,
menu.
that's awesome.
So we've had that. One of our fall cocktails is actually kind of a riff on a pumpkin spice latte.
Hmm.
So it's that we named the cult classic. So we have kind of
Nice.
different naming uh,
Conventions. Yeah.
conventions and etymology behind them. It's one of those like I think everybody kind of creates that like you've got to be super serious and it's got to be seductive and it's got to be. It's like man, like it's not that. This is
No,
a house party. This is not a
have fun with it.
hospital. Like it's okay. Like have fun with it. Like it doesn't
Well,
have to be exactly that way.
so to that end, you say, "Oh, this is a house party," but the I wasn't sure of the impression. Like, what is the music that you guys play in your space? What kind of soundtrack does it? I mean, sometimes it changes with, maybe happy hour has a different kind of playlist than evenings and things like that. But what's the vibe overall that you guys are trying to express there?
Yeah, totally. So a lot of it is kind of the vibes a little bit more major metropolitan city kind of vibe. So
Mhm.
it's a lot of house music
Oh,
um, during the weeks, and we'll have on the weekends we'll have different DJs from around the city and around the
oh,
south kind of come in.
cool.
It's a lot of house music, things like that.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, like I guess I was actually out of the country, but we had one night we had where it was like a DJ had canceled on us,
Hmm.
and we were like screw it, we're just gonna do like requests all night, and so
Oh, fun.
it was everything from like kind of disco to early 2000s pop
Hmm.
um, to There was some 80s mix in there, and so it's, as of recently, and like now, what we've kind of started doing is like we're gonna come back to this. Like instead of having a DJ all the time, we're gonna come back to having something that's a little bit more fun, a little bit more crowd pleasing, like a little bit more relaxed, not quite as serious. And
Well, if you do it that way too, you
so
don't have to worry about the jukebox thing where somebody goes in there and programs something totally depressing in the middle of an upbeat afternoon,
right,
or someone
right
plays the
there.
same song like 5 times. You guys can have a little bit of editorial, control.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And
That
it's
sounds
I feel like
fun
it's
though.
yeah, it's a good time. You never have to worry about someone putting on Piano Man,
Yeah.
10:30 at night in the bar. Like, come on,
You can
man, we
you can
were
do
having
that
a
at
good
the end.
time.
Yeah, at the end of the night when it's time for everyone to go.
You're like, yeah, man, we were having a really good time.
Well, to that end, are you an appreciator of electronic music since you've been surrounded by it?
It's one of those that like it kind of not necessarily becomes white noise, but
Mm.
it like comes up now more and more and more in my Spotify feed, and sometimes where it's like, hey, you weren't, because we'll like kind of search for different things and
Yeah.
expand the library, and it's just one of those things you like inadvertently, just kind of pops into your music selection. So I'm not
Mhm.
a huge fan of it. It's just one of those that like kind of comes along with the territory. I mean, there's sometimes you're like, this is cool. I'm just gonna like hang out and kind of vibe to this a little bit while you're doing prep or kind of
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
ready for
yeah.
something. And not to say like you don't really have to work at it, and it's not really going to be what you're going to remember, but it's like a good time and it's a good vibe and it's super chill, and
Yeah.
you
Well, you had
kind of
mentioned to
fall into
me,
the groove.
totally. You had mentioned to me you grew up in a house where you yourself weren't playing music, but somebody around you was. So
Yeah,
music
absolutely,
is around you. So tell me, like
for
when you were
sure.
a
Yeah.
kid, what were you listening to when you were a kid?
So I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama
Mhm.
in the 90s. I was born in 88. I'm 36 now.
Mhm.
And so growing up in the 90s, middle class suburban household. It was a lot of, Garth Brooks, Clint Black,
Mhm.
Brooks and Dunn, like a lot of like the solid 90s country.
Yeah, yeah.
But at the same time, it was also a lot of classic rock, a lot of Zeppelin. Dad is a big Mark Knopfler fan.
Mm.
So listen to a lot of Mark Knopfler. And then somewhere around like I was like 10 or 12, my parents really got into smooth jazz for some reason. And I
Oh,
was like,
wow.
cool. And that's what we're doing. So,
They're
interesting
relaxing.
transition there. And then, kind of growing up, like being in high school, it was, kind of I mean, gosh, I graduated in the six, so it was kind of early 2000s. So it was
Yeah.
all the pop bands and the boy bands and all that, but also at the same time, it was like, kind of singer songwriter stuff kind of coming out. So I didn't really like start listening to good music until I was, easily outside of college.
Well, you say
Which
good
was
music, but that's debatable. Everybody has their own opinion on what's
well,
good and
yeah.
what's not.
Yes, that's true. Yes, that's true. I guess I should phrase that a different way. I guess found the music that I appreciated.
There
I will
you
say
go.
that.
Yeah, see, because
We'll
I
say
don't
that.
believe in guilty pleasures, because if you like it, you like it.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
and did your brother have anything to do with that? Because you mentioned he was the guitar player in the family.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So he was a guitar player, and he took me to some of my very first concerts, and
Ah, do you remember what your
just
first concert was? Because those are always awesome.
yeah. So I mean, like my absolute very first, and like I kind of remember it a little bit, but it was like, I mean, this was like 98, 99. It was
Yeah.
Hootie and the Blowfish,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, and I kind of remember a little bit of it, but I was like young. I was just like, what are we doing here? This is loud. Kind of like, just like kind of get it, but this is kind of cool. But you're just like, the flashing lights, the loud music. You're just kind of like taking it all in.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But yeah, I mean, it's like, but as far as like, my brother and I used to go to kind of like small, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, like a lot of like the kind of scene kid, kind of like hardcore emo music and like,
Cool.
pop up bands, stuff like that. I got to see, this is like way, way back, but
Mhm.
before they were big, like the All American Rejects, we saw them at like
Yeah.
this shed in Birmingham. And so, but I mean, I think they played to like 12 people.
Oh, that's amazing.
So
So this is an
which
all
is
ages
wild.
place, or were you?
Yeah,
That's
it wasn't
cool.
an all ages place, but it was one of those night. It was kind of like an airport hangar style bar, and
Oh,
like with
okay.
pool tables and stuff. And it was one of
Mhm.
those like, we're gonna do this just so that these guys can make money and have gas for the tour van kind of thing. And
That's
then flash forward like
awesome.
like a year later, they're on MTV. So,
Well, yeah, and that
so
lead singer is like an actor now, I think. He pops up
is he?
in,
Okay.
yeah, I've definitely seen him
Okay.
pop up from time to time on TV shows, and I'm like, who is that guy? That guy looks familiar because he has that jawline, right? So I'm all, that guy
Yeah.
looks kind of familiar. Where do I? Oh, it's the All American Rejects, dude.
Yeah. That's that guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's cool. See, I mean, I couldn't, there were so many bands I wanted to see, but I couldn't because they were like 18 plus or 20 or 21 and over. And I lived
Yeah.
in, I lived in San Diego and they were not making room for all ages down there at that time.
Oh,
So
yeah, for sure.
that's cool that you had this kind of like workaround so you could see stuff
Yeah,
like
we
that.
had a little bit of work around there, and it's kind of like I feel like everybody like if they could grow up in a different era of time, they would
Yeah.
choose. I grew up in the '70s or the '20s or like the '80s or like think about that time like in the '90s, like how so much music was going forward,
Oh yeah.
and like how there were no smartphones. No one really gave a
Yeah.
shit about this
You
or
could
that. Like
actually
you just
watch the fucking band.
yeah, like exactly. Like you went to a bar and you talked to a person with your mouth and you made eye contact and you got a beer and you checked out this band and you paid like $6 like to get into this bar to see this band. And like, then a couple years later they're actually hit the big times. And so there was a
Nice.
boss of mine years ago. His brother, we were talking about music one day, and his brother was at the University of Illinois. Well, they
Mhm.
lived outside of Chicago, and
Uh,
he like took the bus to go see his brother for like one weekend, and they went to go see on campus. They had the Rolling Stones and Buddy Guy
on campus?
on campus.
Jeez.
Right? Yeah. And he said his ticket was like $3, and he
Oh
was
my
like, "That's when
God.
like yeah, that's when like a dollar was like $100, to a
Yeah,
kid."
yeah,
So,
true, totally.
but it's wild how like so much has changed through so many different ways of music, and
Yeah,
it's kind of sad too because I mean even now like if you want to go to a concert that's like a big headliner,
I don't
I mean
even
it's like two
try.
hundred dollars. Yeah,
It's too
it's like
daunting. It's too daunting.
yeah,
When I see these big sold out shows, I'm just like, how did you actually get the ticket? I don't even know if I want to navigate whatever that system is anymore, for that sort
oh
of
yeah,
thing. But you said you used to go to tons of shows. So,
yeah.
up until COVID, and COVID kind of broke us for some of these kind of things. But what kind of shows were you going to see? Were you just see anything, or were you very specific about what you were going to see if you were seeing a ton of shows?
It was kind of interesting. It was kind of a mix of things. Like
Yeah.
Birmingham itself is kind of interesting in being like a small market, but we
Yeah.
have like a lot of great venues that like for something that you wouldn't normally see come through town that you can go see for like 20, $30, or you can go see something on a Sunday night or a Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
You've got, different venues like Avondale Brewing. That's this huge outdoor Avondale or brewing space that has this huge stage. I mean, we've seen everybody from Glass Animals to Jason Isbell to Modest Mouse,
Oh my God, those are
um,
amazing.
Dashboard Professional, Jimmy Eat World. And then
Jeez.
you've got like places like Workplay, and then you've got like where have you seen like Cartel? There's places like Iron City where we've seen August Burns Red, Jason Isbell,
Mm.
Ben Folds Five, Fanagram,
That's
Paramore, like all
that's
different kinds of stuff.
awesome.
That's like you think like why would they stop there? Like why are they playing in Birmingham kind of things?
Well, so tell me what nightlife is like in Birmingham. I've never been, and you have opened up, or you guys have created this, you know, fun but sophisticated cocktail space. So was that something Birmingham needed at the time?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was one of those that like you had and what's interesting is we kind of opened up within a 6 month period of four other bars.
Mm.
We opened up and we
So it
kind of
was in
opened
the
up
air,
around,
huh?
yeah, no, it was absolutely in the air. We opened up around the time that, a person on the bar down the street from us called Pilcrow. They're
Mhm.
or the tequila focused cocktail bar. And
Cool.
they're really cool. It's kind of like a basement bar.
Mm.
It has very much like an LA vibe to it,
Oh.
which is really cool. And at the same time, who else is opening up? Queens Park was kind of opening up around the park, they're around the corner from us. And it was kind of a truly classic cocktail place. Like, I mean, their
Mhm.
menu was bigger than ours. It was like 60 or 70
Oh my
cocktails.
God, that hurts
And
my
what's
brain.
weird is like, yeah, right. I mean, and apparently like I've
It's like
talked
you
to a
got
lot of
cue
people that
cards
work
back there.
there. Right. It was like a lot of cue cards. It
Yeah.
was, a lot of testing, a lot of
Mhm.
workshopping. And so it was in kind of the same way. You had cocktail bars, and then you had like loud college bars. There weren't any kind of like classy kind of places
Mhm.
you could go. Like to a certain extent, like there were still like great cocktail bars, but it
Mhm.
was like you kind of went there and you kind of dim, kind of quiet. You conversed with everybody, but it was kind of papered all kind of brought in kind of like the mesh of you know
Kind of a grown-up
house
party.
music, kind of grown up party, house
Yeah.
music with cocktails kind of thing. And so yeah, it was definitely one of those that like it was like, hey, this is one of our greatest compliments we've gotten is like I feel like I'm in New York, I feel like I'm in LA, I feel
Ooh,
like I'm in Houston. So it was good that we kind of created that kind of larger market feel in our small market.
cool. I mean, it sounds like you guys have become part of a good crawl. It's always nice to have a neighborhood that's got destinations you can walk to, so you can just kind of stay in that part of town during the course of the evening. Is it
Yeah,
part of
totally.
that?
Yeah, and it's one of those that, kind of where a lot of and it's, not necessarily all, but like a good bit of the hub of cocktail
Hmm.
bars are kind of between First, Second, and Third Avenue North in
Hmm.
Birmingham,
Nice.
where you've got, I mean, you can kind of, it's a hike, but you can walk to each one of them.
Yeah.
And there's like several that are like right around the corner from each other, like kind of just in a block kind of system. So
Yeah.
we're a part of that, which is great. We're kind of, if you don't like it here, let's go down here, or we'll go here before we go here, kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
So it's very, very, very walkable. You can bar hop and kind of hit multiple places at one time if you
Well,
want.
it's nice to be able to
Sure.
walk off the booze sometimes.
Absolutely. Go out there in nice, cooler air and kind of sober up a
Yeah.
little bit before you go to the next one. So,
Well, let me ask
absolutely.
you, on your end, when you are relaxing, when you're home chilling out, if you ever chill out, I don't know, since you're still 1 foot in, 1 foot out of like, the hospitality world and then the other job, when you have some downtime, what are you listening to? What are you sipping on?
Yeah, totally. So, like I said, there the times when I'm just kind of absolutely, kind of vegged out and not really doing much or few and far between. But yeah, like especially like if I'm at the bar kind of doing prep, just kind of like headphones in, just kind of hanging out. Big fan of War on Drugs. Seen it
Mm,
multiple times. One of my favorites, just like a good like
mhm.
I've listened
Yeah,
to every album over and over and over end to end, and it's just one of those that
great band.
really
Yeah.
just kind of great band and just
Mhm.
wonderful performer all around. Seen them multiple times, great. But it's one of those that like it's always refresh every time I listen to them.
Oh,
Listen,
neat.
and I'm a typical white guy, so of course I've got to listen to Josh Bryant, who's just kind of blown up recently, and a lot of his prior albums are great.
Hmm.
Old school Kings of Leon,
Mm.
way before B side and all that, way before Sex on Fire,
I was
like
gonna
the
say
labor where
back when they
David
were still
Kane,
like
all that.
when they were still kind of dirty.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember they were so scuzzy at the start. I felt like I could smell them when you'd watch a video. And then they
Oh,
then they got
absolutely.
all cleaned up and real. And I was like, I don't know if you guys are as cool anymore.
Yeah, no,
They still make
absolutely.
great
They
music, but you know what I
they
mean? There
still
was
make
there was
great
that
music, but it's
shift.
not as like it's
There's
not as
there's just something
grungy. It's
dirtier
not
about it.
as
Yeah, yeah.
it's not as scruffy.
Yeah, scruffy.
But
That's a
yeah,
perfect word.
so them, Modest Mouse,
Yeah.
still some emo roots there with Death Cab for Cutie.
Oh yeah.
Just kind of I've been finding myself going back to a lot of like old music that's
Comfort
just
food.
familiar and like just kind of comfort
Yeah.
food.
Yeah,
Like old
yeah.
school Under Oath, old school
Oh
Cartel,
wow.
Under Seems Forever. Kind of like there was one week I just kind of like went down this like emo rabbit hole and I was like, man, why don't I ever listen to this anymore? This is still really great stuff. Even like 20 years later, this is still really great.
Oh yeah, totally.
So yeah.
What are you sipping when you're listening to like War on Drugs or Old Kings of Leon, that kind of thing?
So it all kind of depends. Like
Mhm.
I'm normally pretty static, and when it comes to, I'm normally like a beer and a shot
Yeah.
guy. And a lot of
Mhm.
people ask me what do you like to drink? Like, what's your favorite cocktail? And I'm like, a beer. because it's one of those like if it's like a job, and it's not that I don't like enjoy it or love it, but if you're like,
That's the
let's say we
common
have this,
response from
right,
bartenders. So,
right. If you're like tasting over and over, like
yeah,
you're trying to get this cocktail right, and
yeah,
you're just down in so much citric acid all the
yeah.
time, and you're like your tongue's just kind of shredded, like it's just glass. And it's like you have so much sugar, you have so much citric acid.
Mhm.
You're kind of like, it's just, yeah, it's nice to kind of relax with, you know.
Just a nice cold beer.
Previously I was like a Miller Lite and a shot of Jameson guy, and I still am on occasion. But here lately, I've been kind of on a tequila kick, so it's been
Mm.
a grapefruit high noon, which is way
Oh,
out of left field, and
wow.
a shot of reposado tequila.
Nice.
So which I realize is just completely out of left field,
No,
but
no,
yeah,
that sounds very refreshing, actually. Very nice.
that's kind of been the go-to here lately. As of recently, I was in actually got married a couple weeks ago, and I was in
Oh,
Ireland. Thank you
congratulations.
very much.
Yay.
Thank you very much. And we got married in Ireland,
Oh my
and it
God.
was a lot of Guinness and a lot of
I'm gonna
Bushmilk.
say, I don't know if you can
Oh,
tell I'm drinking out of my Guinness mug.
hell yeah. There we go. Absolutely. That's awesome. That's awesome.
So you guys did all the
Uh,
Guinness for your wedding. There you go.
oh, yeah. So drink all that. And then, but I mean, just like the other day, I mean, when it got below like 60 degrees and it's nice and cool, I was like, you know what? I kind of feel like having a scotch. Like, it's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
it's that time of year again to read. And then I had a couple of those, and I was like, "Yep, it's time to go to bed." Yeah, this is great. I feel I'm all warm and cozy. The socks are on. It's we're kind of like fall, but we're getting there
We're
towards
getting there,
cooler
yeah.
weather. So,
Yeah, you can
so
still
yeah.
have your tequila shots, but yes, the scotch is not far behind.
No, not at all. And so I was like, I was like, I haven't had scotch in like a long time. This is really good. I forget how much I like it. So it's one of those kind of like, like I was talking about music, kind of going
Mhm.
back to the classics,
Yeah,
kind of going back to the old school stuff.
yeah,
Now,
totally.
am I gonna drink, 3 glasses of scotch every day? Yeah, but
No.
it's nice to indulge a little bit every now and then. So yeah,
That's perfect. I love it. So, well, this is a good place to wrap it all up then.
awesome.
I was thinking you could give me the social media info for Paper Doll for yourself if you want people to find you, but if they can, whatever you want to give to us so people can check out Paper Doll the next time they're in the area.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm pretty boring when it comes to social media. Like I don't post a lot. I don't really tag a lot. And
Mhm.
I mean, I'm married now. I don't really have to worry about any of that. She can post the photos and I'll
Keep
like
you
them
up
and
to
she'll
date.
tag me. She'll let me know what's going on. Like I check Facebook for birthdays. Like that's about all I use it
Yeah.
for. But yeah, so I'll forego the disappointment of my social media and go directly to Paper Dolls. So
Perfect.
on Instagram, we're at Paper Doll Bar.
Okay. Easy enough.
Yeah, we go. Yeah,
There you
absolutely.
go.
And you can just find us on Facebook under the same handle. So yeah,
Perfect. That sounds great. Thank you so much, Ryan. Don't go anywhere, but I really appreciate you talking to us today. Don't get to Birmingham that much and find out about the scene. So I appreciate you sharing that with us.
absolutely. Well, we'll keep a bar stool open for you.
Yay, thank you.
Well, all right, who wants to fly me out to Birmingham? There's a bar stool waiting for me, and I'm sure there is a bar stool waiting for you as well. If you ever make it to Paper Doll, go in there and ask for Ryan. Thanks so much for chatting with us. It's so fun to hear about your amazing concert experiences. I'm kind of jealous. Wish I had those opportunities when I was that age. But I'm looking forward to hearing more about the cocktail scene out that way. And again, it's Paper Doll Bar on Instagram, so go check out the beautiful photos of some delicious looking cocktails. Music and Booze with Mo is brought to you by The Mermaid, a cozy neighborhood bar with an aquatic flair in the Little Tokyo area of downtown LA. Open 7 days a week, featuring tropical cocktails and snacks, The Mermaid also has a daily happy hour from 5 to 8 p.m. Follow The Mermaid on Instagram at TheMermaidLA to hear about upcoming events and check them out at themermaidla.com. head to 428 East 2nd Street, Los Angeles for a drink. Thank you for tuning in to our barroom chats on Music and Booze with Mo. For more info about today's guest, or if you want to connect with me, check out my Facebook page, Mo Herms. Please subscribe to the podcast and feel free to tell all your friends about it. While you're there, give the show a rating and a review. It really helps to get the word out. If you want to hear the playlists our guests have curated, search She Be Mo on Spotify, SHEBMO. Find pictures of the interviewees and the cool stuff they create on the Music and Booze with Mo Instagram account. Lower your expectations and join us at the bar. Till next time, cheers.